When we think about building a great website, we often focus on the big, flashy stuff. But what if I told you the two most important things, the real unsung heroes, are images and links? Seriously, get these right, and you've got a rock-solid foundation. But get them wrong? Well, even the most amazing content just dies on the vine.
Come on, we've all done it, right? You click on a link, you're excited to see the page, and you just wait and wait. And then you're gone. You've already clicked away. That tiny moment of frustration, that's where so many websites lose people for good. And that's exactly what we're going to dig into today.
Here's the thing. It doesn't matter how brilliant your content is or how amazing your product is, if your site feels slow or confusing or just plain broken, nobody's going to stick around. And the wild part? The culprit usually isn't some super complex techie problem. Nope. It almost always comes down to two things: images and links.
Okay, so here's our game plan. We're going to tackle this with 3 pillars. First, pillar 1, build for speed. Then, pillar 2, weaving the web. And finally, pillar 3, designing for everyone. And stick around, because at the end, I'll give you a super simple checklist you can use right away.
All right, let's dive right into pillar 1, built for speed. Think about it. What's more frustrating than a slow website? Nothing. And the number one reason for that sluggishness, almost every single time, is unoptimized images.
So, the first thing you've got to do is pick the right format for the job. It's kind of like choosing the right tool. For pretty much any photo, JPEG is your best friend. Great compression, looks good. If you need a transparent background, say for a logo, you're going to reach for a PNG. Just know it can be a bit beefier in file size. But the real game changer these days? It's WebP. This thing has amazing compression, so you get super small files without losing that crisp quality.
And you know what's great? These techniques are actually pretty simple to implement. First, you've got to compress your images. There are tons of free tools online that'll shrink the file size without making it look bad. Second, always specify the width and height in your code. This stops that super annoying thing where the page jumps around while it loads. And third, and this one is huge, use lazy loading. It's this clever trick that only loads an image right when you're about to scroll to it. It makes your initial page load so much faster.
Okay, so your site is lightning fast now. Awesome. But can people actually find their way around? That brings us to pillar 2, weaving the web. This is all about using links to turn a bunch of separate pages into a website that actually makes sense.
Now, before we get to the fun strategy stuff, we need to clear up a common point of confusion: SRC versus href. It's actually pretty simple when you break it down. Think of SRC, or source, as embedding something directly onto the page, like an image becomes part of that page. But href, or hyperlink reference, is different. It's just linking to something else. It's basically a signpost that says, hey, the thing you want is over there.
I found this absolutely brilliant analogy for this on a FreeCodeCamp forum. A user named Teller said, an href resource is like a library. You're just pointing to something on a shelf. But a source, that's like a fountain. It's actually in the room with you. It becomes part of the experience. How great is that? It just makes it click. Okay, so if we're talking about links as directions, we need to know how to give those directions. And that brings us to relative versus absolute paths. The analogy here is perfect. A relative path is like saying, oh, it's just in the next room over. An absolute path is like giving your full street address, city, state, and zip code. One is for local trips, the other is for long distance.
So the rule of thumb is really simple. If you're linking to another page on your own website, use a relative path. It's just cleaner and it saves you a massive headache if you ever change your domain name. But if you're linking out to a totally different website, you have to use the full absolute path. No shortcuts. And here is where the magic happens. This is the power combo. You take an anchor tag, the ahref, and you wrap it around an image tag, the img src. See what we did there? You're using src to put the image on the page, and then you're using href to make that entire image a clickable link. So simple, but so powerful.
So, how do we use all this stuff strategically? Well, the SEO guru Neil Patel has some great tips. He says, first, don't just link everything back to your homepage. Create a real web between your articles and content pages. Second, use descriptive anchor text. Please, no more click here. The text of the link should tell you exactly what you're about to see. And finally, get in the habit of going back to your older articles and adding links to your newer content. It keeps everything relevant and connected.
And that brings us to our final pillar. And honestly, this might be the most important one of all: designing for everyone. Because a site can be super fast and perfectly structured, but if there are people who literally can't access your content, then what's the point?
The absolute key to making images accessible is something called alt text. So what is it? It's basically a short text description of an image. It's what screen readers use to describe the image out loud to users who are visually impaired. And the folks at Brown University have a great rule for it. Good alt text has to be three things: accurate, concise, and equivalent, meaning it gives someone the same information or feeling as seeing the image.
Okay, let's look at a really great example right here. The alt text for this image isn't just students with flags. That's not helpful. Instead, it says, hands of students fly small Brown University pennants in front of the Van Wickle gates during commencement. See the difference? It describes the action, what the items are, and where it's happening. It paints a picture with words. That is a truly equivalent experience.
Now, what about something like a chart or a graph? This is where people trip up all the time. The temptation is to just list off all the data points, but that's just noise. It's overwhelming. The real goal is to summarize the main point, the key trend. So for this chart, the alt text doesn't list every bar. It just says, bar chart showing enrollment peaked in fall 2023 with 79 students. Boom, that's the takeaway. Perfect.
So really, it all comes down to this simple comparison. Bad alt text, picture of a gate. I mean, yeah, it's technically true, but it's completely useless. Good alt text, hands of students fly small Brown University pennants. You know the rest. One is a label, the other tells a story, and that story makes all the difference.
All right, we have covered a ton of ground here, so let's pull it all together into a rapid-fire checklist of the most important things you need to remember.
Okay, ready? Here's your checklist. For speed, pick the right format, JPEG, PNG, or WebP, and always compress your images. And don't forget to use lazy loading. For structure, use relative links for your own site, absolute links for external sites, and please use descriptive anchor text. And for inclusivity, write accurate, concise, equivalent alt text for every single image that matters. Oh, and a quick bonus tip. If an image is purely decorative just for looks, use an empty alt attribute. That way screen readers know to just skip right over it. So, look, this isn't just about learning stuff. It's about doing stuff. So I want you to think right now about your own website or a project you're working on. Based on everything we just talked about, what's one small thing, one 5-minute fix you can go and do right now to make it a little bit faster, a little bit better structured,